Wrestling break. So here we are, a little AEW's post-show action, Ryan. A new thing we're going to start around here. 2 highs and 2 lows from Dynamite. You and I have both watched Dynamite tonight. We've gone through the entire show, which of course you can check out our full stream at twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. You can check out our entire review of the entire 2-hour Wednesday night Dynamite broadcast. Ryan, are you ready to do 2 highs and 2 lows?
I'd like to hear your first high. I'm absolutely ready.
Very easy for me. My first high tonight was the Jon Moxley, Darby Allin in prison promo segment. Not only did I think, first of all, I'm a sucker for any time they go out of arena. I know that this is just on an effort sense, and I know you know this too. It's an expensive, effort-driven event that throws off travel plans, throws off when people get to the arena. These guys have to go to wherever set they shot this. They have to have a different director on site. There's so much that has to go into this, and then they must perform up to the acting abilities that don't make the more cinematic look of the segment feel completely out of place. And while I thought Jon Moxley was the better performer in that sense here, I thought Darby Allin was also totally up to the task. And then I loved how both of these guys in their promos, it's often said, you know, the old Dusty Rhodes thing where it's like, oh, if you go out there and you call me a big dumb fat guy, then you go out there and I win and you lost to a big dumb fat guy, or you win and you beat a big dumb fat guy. I do think sometimes that it is actually the right path to just go at your opponent and demean them, but I really appreciate that both of them did the opposite here. They went with Dusty Rhodes' advice and they ceded ground to one another. Darby Allin saying that he thinks about joining the Death Riders every day, and Jon Moxley saying that he knows for a fact that Darby Allin won't quit. So love the environment that they put these guys in. Thought both of them did a home run on all this. And I have a working theory that any of this Jon Moxley cool shot stuff, whether it was the stuff in the truck or breaking out of jail, is done by his friend Sick Nick Mondo from the deathmatch scene, who is trying to make it, as I understand, as some sort of cinematographer in Hollywood. Ryan, what's your first high from Dynamite tonight?
Well, I want to piggyback onto your high, and
Please.
That's just the hatred between Mox and between Darby Allin. You know, you are looking at 2 guys in a prison that we're not in, you know, in a holding cell that we're not sure how they got there, why they're there. But it's so well done and it's so believable. You can suspend disbelief for 6 minutes or whatever it was, and just you are fully invested into what they're doing. And everything that they deliver, I believe, and I believe that they need to have this insanely violent match at Wrestle Dream to settle it. And, you know, you and I might differ a bit in our opinions on hardcore wrestling or deathmatch wrestling. I sometimes find that they are violent for the sake of violence, violent for the sake of violent on AEW. And all of a sudden, there's a big pile of glass on the ground. This match warrants everything that you could ever imagine. They have made I can't imagine somebody who has not bought in, and they have made, in my mind, everybody thirsty for blood in wanting to see this feud ender. It's incredibly well done. It's a masterclass.
Yeah, they're the best feud on the show right now for my money. And in that vein, I think the coffin match might have been the more front-facing traditional hardcore match. I'm expecting something more of like a crowd silencer on Saturday, which I'm actually looking forward to, but something with a bit more torture elements and things akin to like working the ear and really like the twisted torture Nick Gage adjacent version of this stuff. So very interested to see those guys attempt that style, and thought that this was, you know, a go home show's function is to get you more excited for the pay-per-view. And I thought that this did that, like you say, a masterclass on it.
What's your next high?
Mercedes 10 belts Monet. This was like the only different gear of promo I think I've ever seen Mercedes do. I'm not trying to overstate it. This wasn't a promo that was going to set the world on fire. This wasn't Hard Times 2. There was no pipe bomb here from Mercedes Monet, but she was almost like crazed and joyous and laughing and more over the top in her delivery. And I don't know if it signals a slight change that she's really going to crack and lose her mind when she starts losing these belts. I felt like the seeds were almost planted for that tonight, but it's just very interesting to me. I'm a Mercedes Moné big time fan, but sometimes her promo style is very one note. And I feel like when people criticize her delivery, I understand what they mean. Again, I'm a huge fan of hers. I can often see through the flaws, but I get what they mean. There is this very paced cadence and a similar same-ish to it all. I thought she was really breaking out of that tonight. The Ultimo Dragon Monet, or the Ultimo Monet thing that she said, is both hilarious and just, comparing yourself to greats is a wonderful thing to do, and makes a ton of sense for her character. And that she wants to beat Ultimo Dragon's record is also just a nice wrinkle to the CEO character. So not only am I excited just to see something different from her, I do think it's a tease that she's going to start losing these belts, and we may see the most interesting version of her character ever. It reminds me a little bit of Sting, to be honest, who was never a big promo or character guy. And then they gave him the Joker in TNA, and it's easily the best promo work of his career. I'm not saying it's his career peak or best career work. That's obviously is the Crow, but the most free he's ever been on a microphone and the best promos by far are all as the Joker. And I think he's even spoken about just being able to detach from himself a little bit made him less, he doesn't use the word embarrassed or whatever, but I wonder if we might see something like that from Mercedes Moné. So I thought there was a lot of optimism to be had in this segment.
You bring up a great point. I don't want to say paint by numbers. That's insulting, but I think that you can kind of telegraph where Mercedes Moné is going to go in a promo. Doesn't mean it's bad in the least bit. It's just you can kind of know, you can kind of see where she's going. So to see this wrinkle, this evolution in the character on Dynamite this week, it adds a hell of a lot of interest to this to the belt collector.
Hit me with some of your highs, brother.
Man, I'm torn, but I'm gonna go. I had a moment where I was watching Dynamite. I forget which match it was, but I'm loving Bryan Danielson on commentary. I love hearing he is one of the most legitimate wrestlers of our generation, of this era, and he's a unique cat. Like the things the avenues he goes down, like they can be comical, they can be funny, you can hear about bears, but when it comes time to outlining how one wrestler is inflicting pain and hurting the other one, he makes it seem so legitimate. It transports you to wherever you want to say, the Heart Dungeon or whatever wrestling, Vern Gagne's camp. Like, it makes it so legitimate, and it's goddamn the American Dragon, and if he's putting over somebody, I perk up. I believe in it. And this is no knock to Taz or Excalibur or any former wrestler, but hearing Dragon put over what somebody's doing, it makes everything so much more legitimate, and I love the addition.
Yeah, it's funny, man. He applies that legitimacy in really interesting ways too. I've done a bunch of wrestling commentary, and something that I've been taught is you want to cover for wrestlers' mistakes or inconsistencies and do your best to sort of do some backwards math or some sort of explanation, or ignore it, or whatever's best and not call attention to it. Bryan is, and I think we know this, he's kind of like a harsh guy in general. He had like a bit of a bully reputation to some degree. And I think some of that comes across on commentary. I'll point to tonight's match with Sky Blue and Jamie Hayter, where the Triangle of Madness has been torturing Jamie Hayter for months now. And then they lock up and they do some wrestling exchanges. And Bryan Danielson is just like, I got to tell you, I'm really surprised. This is not what I expected after all this hatred, that they're going to go out there and do a wrestling match. And it's like, man, that is borderline like what an agent would say backstage. Yeah. Like, it is very not cover for your wrestler, very exposing. But I think as the fan, it's almost, not only is it rewarding to hear somebody who's a little bit more willing to call it like it is, but it also, like you say, does lend a lot when he puts people over too, because he's willing to go the other way. So yeah, I agree. He's very unique on commentary.
Let's talk about some lows. I'll start off here.
Sure.
I am sick and tired, and so are you, of not knowing how long an episode of Dynamite is and when it starts and when it ends. Every week it is a 3-hour, grandiose production. It's you're getting free wrestling. It's a super show. It's very New Yorky. Like, I get that they are up against Major League Baseball postseason, sporting events, other things, basketball starting up. Like, that's fine. But don't cram everything in as like one big show. It reminds me of the Raw Super Show from 15 years ago. Like, they're two different programs. Treat them like that, and just find an alternate way to present your product during these difficult times. Because listen, we joked about it before we got going here. Like, AEW dudes on Twitch, it's main competition. It's competing against AEW. Like, it's difficult for everybody. I don't necessarily care for it, and I know that nobody wants to watch 3 hours of wrestling, and it's just too tough.
Yeah, and so I totally agree with you. And on top of that, it removes a bullet from your gun when you can't ever pull out the big show, because in the last month you've had the 2.5 hour anniversary show, tonight's 3 hour Dynamite, and then Collision. And I can kind of excuse that on pay-per-view Saturdays, where it's okay, we can't do Collision Saturday because we're doing a pay-per-view. Fine, don't do it Thursday, don't do it Friday. I can sort of turn an eye, but you can't do that if that's the fourth out of the last 5 weeks that haven't been your traditional just 2 hours on Wednesday Dynamite. One's on Tuesday, one's 3 hours, one's 2.5 hours. For me as a viewer, it makes it feel more ragtag than it should, or unimportant. Like, it just can be shifted. I build my weeks around Wednesday Night Dynamite. Maybe that makes me a geek. It's my favorite TV show. I like to hit the couch after work and watch my show, have myself a sparkling water, and enjoy AEW Dynamite. And they've been playing with my heart lately, and I am like you. I'm very ready just for Wednesday's 2 hour plus a little overrun.
Well, tell me about one of your lows here for this week's Dynamite.
I'll stick again with show formatting if we're going to go with show placement. The beginning of Dynamite tonight was baffling. The first 4 minutes of it are poor Excalibur, who's really excellent, is doing his job and basically just reading through every match. It's going to be on Wrestle Dream on Saturday, Collision tonight, and Dynamite tonight. And I just can't imagine who thinks that's a good way to kick off a show. And then when they 4 minutes of that, they go to a backstage pre-tape. And
imagine being in the arena for that.
That's what I mean, man. Like, this crowd luckily managed to stay pretty up for the night, but you're just not. Imagine those, welcome to Dynamite, fireworks go off, and then it's just, you're sitting in the arena just seeing these match graphics being expected to pop for everyone and get volume checks. It seems like such an avoidable, if you're trying to keep, and I don't even know how real this is, but this is what they always talk about, right? That you're trying to keep some of the Big Bang Theory viewers, or whoever, whatever the lead in is. Sometimes it's a movie, I think. If you're trying to keep some of those people around, showing them match graphics for 4 minutes, I can't. Who is going to be captivated or stick around with that for any period of time? So that, and then the backstage thing, I was like, we've gotten so far away from Dynamite just opening with a snappy tag match, which used to be the set standard.
Do you think that they ran through all of the matches because they've done a poor job booking or promoting or building them?
I think they have data that shows that people would rather see promos than matches early. That promos they might have people hanging on to a word more than they have people hanging on to people they don't know wrestle.
Yeah, that's tough but fair, because we're all just kind of, I mean, we've been programmed for a long time with New York, and it's like a hot show will start out with a hot angle or a hot promo.
That's right. Sets up the main event match.
And we're all, and I get a little more intrigued. I point my ear closer to the TV. I want to listen, but like, it's got to make sense, and it's got to deliver, and it's got to build something up, not just kind of slog it down.
Yeah, just opening with a commercial seems crazy.
Absolutely.
What's one of your lows?
My low is,
or your other low, I should say.
Yeah, my low is how Chris Statlander came off in her face-to-face with Timeless Tony Storm. And I'm a very big Tony Storm fan. I think we all are. I love her character to death. It's probably my favorite in current day pro wrestling. And we know how over she is, and we know how good she is, and it's a challenge to put a wrestler at her level, to say this is somebody that can take her down, that can beat her and be elevated from her. And we all want Chris Statlander to kind of get that rub, and she did it all out. But you got to put your talent in a spot to succeed.
Yeah.
You're not doing her any favors, and I get it's a tape piece, but you gotta you have to be. It's like her Toni Storm is so over and so good, and is wearing Kevlar. She can take all the bullets, do all the jobs, and she's going to be so over and so popular and bulletproof. You need to take that carefree nature that you have with Toni, and you need to be a lot more strategic and a lot more premeditated with her opponents, because you got to build them up, or they're going to seem like minor leaguers to Toni Storm, and it's just tough.
Well, and you said you have to make your talent look good, and even if you can't make everybody look good, you have to make your new champion look good. Everybody understands that it is a hard situation to follow up a beloved champion, and this is the second match on this card that just feels more like babyface versus babyface than it probably should, for its own good. And you could question whether that's booking or whatever, however you get there. Mm-hmm. But you're really putting Toni Storm in the position to win here. It's a big backstage pre-tape. We're talking about the drama of everything and the big epic promo. And I hear out people who say that's an opportunity. Like the greats will rise to that occasion, and it just becomes this moment to shine against somebody who's also very good at that. And I'm partial to that argument. I understand that you do have to take those risks sometimes. I just don't think there's been a ton of evidence to think Chris Statlander, who I think is potentially the best in-ring competitor in the women's division, is going to be able to flourish in that situation. And so once they get out to the ring for that segment, I thought that it did come alive in a better way, playing up to Chris Statlander's strengths. But yeah, like you said, really not giving Chris a moment to win here. Give her Chuck Taylor as her manager. I think that solves everything.
I thought you brought that up on this week's episode of AEW Dudes. Where can people hear that, listen to that, watch that?
Twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain if you want to see VOD of the entire show, including our segment right in the middle. This week it was They Said What. We play a game every week, but if you want just the audio version, you can head over to wherever you find your podcast. Type in Wrestling Brain, you'll see it there. And if you're watching this today, Thursday, we are doing a preview show for Wrestle Dream live on the channel, 6 in the West, 9 in the East, twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain. Why don't you come join us? I got one more low here. Hurt Syndicate and GOA had a tag match on Dynamite tonight. This is a setup for their trios match. They'll be adding MVP and Ricochet come Saturday night for Wrestle Dream. And again, the moment Wrestle Dream ends will be live on the channel too, I should say. If you're up, twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain the moment Wrestle Dream ends. But I just cannot understand the line of thinking for the first time to pin the tag team, the Hurt Syndicate, on this Dynamite going into the trios match. I understand that it leaves having Bobby Lashley being pinned, given that Shelton Benjamin got pinned in this situation and they pinned MVP last time, but it just feels like these two teams are on an island together. This will be their fourth encounter, and it does not feel like the stakes have all been raised headed into Saturday. I'm not more excited for this encounter than I've been for any of their last ones. And I really liked the 6-man that they had. Was that on the anniversary show, the Plunder match? I had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like there's this escalation anymore. I really feel like the pressure's been let off. They shook the bottle, and now they've taken the top off. The win is the Hurt Syndicate in tags, and they've done it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a payoff, or I mean, like, I haven't looked. I haven't memorized the full Wrestle Dream card, but I'm like, if this is a 5-hour show on Saturday, I'm like, well, why is this trios match on there when they've wrestled every possible way, including a trios match for the last month? It's
on the last pay-per-view.
For crying out loud, it has been a very enjoyable program. It's been very enjoyable matches. It's been fun watching members of the Hurt Syndicate dodge taking pins, but it's kind of confusing in the whole process of what are you building to and what's the blow off at a big show like Wrestle Dream. So I think that's a low as well.
Yeah, and just seems like an avoidable one here. Like you could have had a little more heat going into this match come Saturday, just simply by not doing this. Like pure addition by subtraction.
I'll give one more high, and I think it's something as years go by, sadly and quickly, it's having Kenny Omega on our TV screen on a weekly basis, getting the opportunity to watch him wrestle. Man, he could be overexposed. He could be, he could be on every single show constantly, and I'd still get excited to see him wrestle. He is my all-time, in my opinion, the best all-time AEW champion. He was incredible for this company. Anything that he does is a big deal. It makes it important, and he's at a point health-wise where he can't be there every week, and that's fine, because even when he does show up and when he has part of an angle, god damn does it feel big, and is it exciting to still get to see him wrestle at the quality that he is.
Yeah, his scarcity is totally working in that way, that it is translated one-to-one to his appearances, just feeling special. It's great to see him, even if they're not these. You remember, we were so spoiled on Dynamite during this title run. Oh, here's him versus Ray Phoenix for 20 minutes. We're not getting that anymore, but it is absolutely wonderful to see him. I completely agree. And that will do it for 2 highs and 2 lows from Dynamite. Our first one ever. It's going to be a weekly occurrence here. YouTube exclusive. This is a Twitch channel making our ploy into the YouTube world. So every week, 2 highs, 2 lows from Dynamite, Ryan. I thought this was just nifty. Thank you for doing it. Give us a follow over on twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. We'd love it if you did. And until then, we'll see you. Love and energy. Hey, thanks for checking out that video. Next step, hit follow down below. Step after that, head over to twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. We're live every Monday and Wednesday and on pay-per-view weeks, or just when we feel like talking about wrestling. It's many more shows than that. You can hit follow over there to be alerted every time we go live. If you need even more, patreon.com/J0SHC has a free tier and a paid tier. Check those out and see if any suit you fine. We'll see you then, and like Hiroshi Tanahashi says, love and energy.